call the meeting to order for the September 12th, 2023 meeting of the Transportation Committee. Welcome. The Transportation Committee reviews items of interest regarding all modes of transportation in the city of Oshkosh, including motor, transit, and bike, and pedestrian. We are an advisory committee, and our favorable recommendations today will go before the Oshkosh Common Council as needed. The council can accept or reject any recommendation from this committee. If you don't agree with our decision, you can discuss the item with any council member. If the committee does not recommend an item, a common council member may sponsor a new ordinance regarding this item. All ordinance items require 2 readings before the Common Council. The first reading will take place on Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6 p.m., and you will be allowed to comment on the item at that time, though the council will take no action. On Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 at 6 p.m., the item will be on a second reading, at which time the council will take action. You will again be allowed to speak. For this afternoon's meeting, I will read each agenda item, at which time, if you'd like to speak, please step up to the podium and give your name and address. I do ask you keep your comments pertinent to the agenda item. The item will then come back to the committee for discussion as action as necessary. So currently, right now, we do have time set aside for public comment. The board has adopted a public participation policy which provides 15 minutes for public comment on a first-come, first-served basis. Citizens must provide their name and address and speak on matters related to transportation issues within the authority of the board. Statements should be addressed to the board members and not to the staff. Items that are on the agenda should be addressed at the time of the item is read, not during the open period for public comments. Statements are limited to 3 minutes, and citizens may only provide comment one time unless permission is granted. All written comments sent to the city of Oshkosh will be distributed and become part of public record. So is there anyone here that wants to make a comment during this public comment time period? Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm Nathan Elliott. I live at 1401 Wisconsin Street. We had the construction project that resurfaced between Bent and New York, and went from 28 to 36 foot wide concrete. During the project, we had several project managers and whatnot tell us that there would be parking on both sides of that street. Now we're being told now that it's done, they came and put no parking signs on the east side of Wisconsin, and we're kind of wondering why that occurred. That's one question. If, and I know there's someone else here to speak on the parking issue, but in the event that you plan on keeping no parking on the east side of Wisconsin Street, or the northbound traffic lane, we would like you to consider doing a bike lane that might fit with the university and the different trails in the area. I think most of the people in our neighborhood that my wife and I have talked to were really expecting parking on both sides, though. At our house at 1401, we had no parking on Wisconsin Street. We're on a corner lot of Wisconsin and Congress. On the Wisconsin side of our property, we had no parking for roughly 60 feet, or what would have almost been straight shot from our property line between the next property and ours. During this project, they put in a fire hydrant 22 feet from the intersection on Wisconsin Street in front of our house, and they made the no parking sign about 16 feet closer to the intersection. So we would request that it get pushed back to its 60 foot from the intersection like it's been for the last 26 plus years. Then as for stop signs, if you turn from Murdoch into Wisconsin, immediately as soon as you turn off Murdoch onto Wisconsin, there's a stop sign. right there heading southbound. We would,
Speed sign. The speed sign.
the speed sign, correction, yeah, the speed sign. The speed sign, that would be roughly in front of 1523 Wisconsin. And then you have to go, let me see, you have to go, I'm getting these mixed up here. You have to go about 3,100 feet, or what would be in front of the 1100 block, 1111 Wisconsin property for it to have a second stop sign. So that whole expanse from Murdoch in Wisconsin all the way down to 2 houses prior to Prospect, that's when you hit the second stop sign there. We'd speed sign, I don't know why I keep saying that, speed sign, excuse me. We'd like you to consider putting one somewhere in the middle. Then as you're heading northbound on Wisconsin, it's kind of a similar situation. Northbound on there, you have the stop sign right in front of roughly 1216 Wisconsin. It'd be across from the church parking lot. And then you would proceed all the way down from that area, roughly 1,900 feet until you get to the north side of the Stanley, Wisconsin intersection. And we'd like you to consider putting another stop sign, correction, speed sign. Do it right away. Speed sign somewhere in there too.
We'd like some more stop signs.
You know, the big problem is right now is the road was closed for about 5 months. But it was open and traffic used it the entire 5 months with no signs, even with construction equipment parked. I've seen people doing 40, 50 miles an hour down there during construction, and a lot more frequency of high speeds since it's opened back up. With the school opening over on Jackson, we've seen an increased level of student pedestrians and bicycles crossing westerly over Wisconsin at the Congress intersection. I can't speak for Bent or New York, but I know Congress and Wisconsin, we've seen a lot of kids starting to head west over Wisconsin Street, heading that way. So we'd like, and I know you guys haven't done a traffic study. If I'm misinformed, please correct me. So I don't know what would need to be done to consider doing pavement markings and like an RRB over there, lights for students crossing there. I don't know what is necessary to accomplish that, if that's even
Okay.
feasible.
Your time limit for speaking has expired. Do we want to grant him more time to allow him to speak longer? Should you want to address his issues? How do we work with that?
It's in public comment, so it's up to you guys. I would
You-
suggest just ask to,
How
kinda
many
wrap
points
it
do
up.
you
I
have?
just have one more thing, number 7.
Yeah.
I think number 7. If there's a traffic study done on Wisconsin, and we were told early in the process there would be, we would ask that it be made available online or something so that the residents in that area could look at it as well, before decisions are made moving forward. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we have another public comment.
Rebecca Strubus, 1422 Wisconsin Street. Pretty much what Nathan said. But even as we speak, there's somebody going up and down the streets getting a petition to have parking on that side of the street. We're probably going to go on record as being the most expensive street for a bit. I'm up to $22,000 for my little $83,000 property. And one of the parts of that expense was widening that street. I'm a lot of things, but stupid ain't one of them. And if you widened that street and it wasn't to put parking in, I can only think you wanted to move the traffic through. And we're like, of course, dead set against that. That's what Jackson was supposed to do, and then they added the bike lanes and the turn lanes and all that and slowed that down. And now the school's open, so there's even pedestrian crosswalks all the way up there, and we're gonna get the brunt of that. There's no other explanation I can think of for them widening Wisconsin except that. We'd like to see that not happen. They used to monitor that street a lot, right on my corner, because I'm on a different corner than them. And there used to be a cop sitting there, and I believe the cop actually offered my husband a radar gun. So me and the neighbor were gonna go out there with our hair dryers to see what we could do to slow things down. But so that you know, that petition, and so far, he told me he didn't have one single person who wouldn't sign it. There's another petition, I went to her house, but she wasn't there yesterday, coming up where they want to have a four-way stop sign right on the corner of actually Congress and Wisconsin, because that one has, I can tell you when a car gets hit there from the sound in my house, because it happens so often. There's no stop sign on Congress from the university clear to that street, so those people coming down Congress pick up some pretty good steam and don't realize the stop sign is there until they discover it the hard way. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to add to that. You guys have any questions or anything? If you can tell me some other reason they widened that and why I had to pay that much money. This is I'm paid, so far, this will be 2.5 streets that I've paid for, because they turned my corner and did part of that again. I'm probably one of the few people in the city that's gonna be paying for 2.5 streets. But the whole widening thing, supposedly it was for our benefit. I can't see it, but, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment at this time? Okay, then we'll move on to the meeting. We've got roll call.
Staple,
Here.
Armstrong,
Here.
Erickson. Here. Lynch,
Here.
Martin.
Here.
And Mary.
Here. Okay, now I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes that were sent out.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to old business. At this time, there is no old business on the agenda, so we'll move on to new business. The first agenda item is a request to remove the on-street permit parking, convert to short-term on Brown Street between Algoma Boulevard and High Avenue. The current condition is permit parking. This is a citizen request. I recommend 2-hour parking.
Yeah, so this is a request from a citizen who often works at the church at 137 Algoma Boulevard, which I believe is here. So anyway, they said that these parking stalls, that they generally aren't very well utilized, but they do use them for loading and unloading back in, I guess the entrance to the church is back in this alley. So right now it's permit parking. So they were requesting if these stalls could be converted to 2-hour parking, which then would help them out. And like, I did do a little bit of reconnaissance on it, and they aren't very well utilized. I don't think that would really have any adverse effect if we converted those from permit to 2-hour parking. I've never seen anybody use those for permit parking, so I don't think that would be, I think it's a reasonable request. So I would recommend converting that to 2-hour parking just for these 3 stalls here.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to that effect to get it on the floor?
Any discussion, or, yeah, do you have a motion to,
I would move that.
okay? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have to do a roll call for that?
For the vote.
It's just it's just a vote? So it is a roll call or no? Okay, then Jane, do the roll call.
Staple,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Lynch,
Aye.
Merritt.
Aye. Okay, moving on, the second agenda item is a request for no parking on Union Avenue South and west sides from Algoma Boulevard to Algoma Boulevard.
This is just a little bit of a cleanup. Just basically, I know people are confused, but it's just basically this little U here, which is Union. So right now, there is short-term parking allowed on this side of the street, but obviously, we can't have cars parking on the island side of the street, because it's basically a one-way through here, and then it goes onto the one-way street. So when our guys were out, after Algoma was reconstructed, putting some of the signs back up, they just noticed that this area, that we don't have that currently in the ordinance. So this would, although we do have a sign here, I believe, this would clean up the ordinance just so that the signs match the ordinance for that little U section on this island side of the street.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this as Jim recommends.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, take a roll call, Jane?
Maple,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Erickson. Aye. Finch.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the third item on new business, a request for no parking on Ripple Avenue, north side from Oregon Street to its western terminus. This is a citizen request.
All right, so this issue we've dealt with before. We dealt with the parking on the south side of the street. So I believe there's someone here to speak on this, but generally, as we talked about last time, we generally, as a rule, the city does generally restrict parking in industrial parks. And the reason is for that is due to the heavy truck traffic and maneuvering. The Generic, which is the company here, this is an older picture, but they used to, or they were constructing an addition onto their parking lot over here, so they needed some extra parking while that was going on. However, the construction is now complete, and I have talked to them, and they do have adequate parking off-street for all their employees. So I've asked them to help communicate with their employees and ask them to park in the lot. However, they're not having a lot of success, so we are getting requests to restrict parking on this side of the street as well, consistent with other industrial areas, as the trucks are having some issues maneuvering, as are the citizens. So I think at this point, I think it's more of a walking issue than a parking issue, but I know we have at least one citizen who wanted to speak to that, I believe.
My name's Neil Androsco. I live at 3836 Red Oak Court. So if you go to the end of Ripple and turn right down, or a dead end off a dead end, so it's a very quiet area. But we walk through there a lot and we drive through there a lot, and that picture's very deceiving because today when I drove out, there's 16 vehicles parked in that section. You can see between those poles, Generac people that decide not to park. And not only that, but there's 3 vehicles parked in the right-of-way as they turn off the road into the driveways. So they're not really supposed to be there either. The right-of-way is the right-of-way. You can't park in the right-of-way, I believe. Is that correct? And there's 3 of them parked there now, and there was 3 of them all day long. That's so. There are 19 cars parked on that spot that shouldn't be there. And that just leads to, not just for walking, which I do a lot of, and I'm afraid to walk down it because of all the traffic. It makes it for I wish you could have a Teamsters member here. They'd be screaming a storm up at how to get in and get out of that area. That in that picture that you have, you looked at the top from the ground down. When Balder was there, it was like a 4-lane area to drive in semis in the very end, turn around, back up to a shipping dock and go into it. Well, that's all now outdoor warehouse. And so was the second one, and so was the third driveway like that. So they can't get into them almost at all. And now you add cars to it along the edges of it's just miserable. So I guess to teach Generac the fact they have to keep that clean, you have to stop the parking out there and see if that works for the drivers or not. And I see these looks on the drivers' faces like they don't even want to come back there. So right now, there's dumpsters up against the building and dumpsters out by the road. Even though Sadoff drivers won't come back if they move anything, it won't come back. I work at we had a special spot. You could not park. You could have anything in the way of a Sadoff truck when they came in, they won't come back, because they're arrogant about their business, they want to get it done. And that's the way it should be there, but they're not doing that yet, and they won't do it until they're forced to do it. So I think it should be just no parking, like I asked you to do, on Generac's property and Evco's property. You don't have to go all the way end of Ripple Road, or down, all around the Red Oak Court. There's a small end down there that is the county part. If you look at your overhead map, it's up here. looking at down here, this is Generac, this is EVCO, and this is more Winnebago County on the north side of the road. So I don't know if you, there's no parking there really for the EAers that come and watch the show. There's a lot of people park down there, and there can be other parking there, so it's gonna be a little bit of a hassle for them. Not that it's a big deal, but it's a narrow blacked up section of the road to begin with. No truck drivers go down there. And these people that are parking on the grass, so they don't have to walk 20 feet, sure, I think they walk 300 feet deep down there. So, and the one sign, you go down, there's signs right there. There's a sign on the south side that was put up by you guys at the intersection of Ripple and Arrow Innovate Way. The sign is now gone, the pole's still there. I think it got loosened up in a windstorm, but somebody helped himself to the sign.
Yeah, we can look into it.
So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Is there any more discussion for that particular agenda item? Okay, we can entertain a motion. It looks like Jim recommends. You're
I
recommending that?
That'd be approved, no parking.
Okay, so call a roll call?
I need a first.
Oh,
Second.
okay, now a roll call for,
Staple,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Erickson. Aye. Lynch,
Aye.
Merritt.
aye. Okay. Fourth item on the agenda, a request to convert the 15-minute loading zone on New York Avenue to a bus loading zone. Current condition, it's a 15-minute loading zone north side of Kentucky Avenue to Central.
Yeah, so this is a request from the school district. So that area on New York, when New York was reconstructed a couple of years ago, they had, they were loading their buses in a different area. I'll see if I can pull it up here quick. I can't see that real well. But anyway, so it was a 15-minute loading zone on New York. And now they are, since the Merrill Elementary's been combined there, they are asking that that be converted to a bus loading zone. So,
There was a New York, Kentucky.
did I can't see that.
There's New York, Kentucky.
Okay.
It's actually a place, apparently.
I spelled Mary. Gosh. So basically, it's a school district request, and since we have, but it's basically just converting from 15 to bus loading.
And there was nobody there that was objecting to it. You've got no objections, Jim? You've got no objections to that? I'd move that we do that.
Second. Okay, and let's do a roll call.
Staple,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Erickson. Aye. Lynch,
Aye.
Merritt.
Aye. Okay, moving on to staff statements.
All right. Before I get to that, I'll let you know too, since we were talking about the new schools there, the conversion of the one-ways, that's went well with Kentucky, and central flipping ways, you know, we did the notification in August. Since school started, it's been going well. I have worked with the police department, the school district, and we've had to educate the drivers a little bit. We've had to increase a little bit of signage. However, overall, it seems to be going pretty well. So I think that process has been pretty successful so far. So there's a follow-up on that. At the last meeting, we had a gentleman that was asking about our Go Transit ridership and suspension policy. So I wanted to clarify that, or answer the question that, you know, Go Transit has one ridership policy for all riders. We don't have any special policies for students. It can be found on our website, which I pulled up here, but if you go to City of Oshkosh, you go to departments, and you can go to Go Transit. in here under more, you will see our bus rider policy here. So anybody who wants to can go and Google that and look it up. But as far as, I think there were some questions specifically about suspensions. Obviously, all of our riders are expected to comply with the ridership policies. But as far as the section on service refusal and suspensions, that's on page 10, which you can look up as well. But basically just states that service may be refused, suspended, or conditional due to the following circumstances or behaviors, which would be seriously disruptive behavior, public health threats, refusal to pay the fare, or refusal to comply with rules or policy. So we don't suspend anybody unless there's cause. We have videos on the bus, and we research every complaint we get and before we take any action. As far as if we collect or report that information, we do not to anybody outside of Go Transit, unless there would be a crime committed, and then obviously we would report it to the police department if they need to be involved. We haven't had any student suspensions since April 17th, so overall, I think we've been doing pretty well. Last few months, last year, as some of you are aware, we had a few incidents with some fights and/or smoking marijuana where riders got suspended, but again, for violating those policies. So that's where you can find that if anybody wants more information on it. As far as student ridership goes, as of, student passes, I should say, there were questions about the student pass rolled out at the last meeting. Currently, it looks like Steve's got the current number. We've issued 686 student passes so far this year. I also gave you a list of all the events that we attended outside of office hours to help facilitate issuing those passes. I think Steve had figured we devoted about 131 hours to issuing student passes. And that goes in addition to our normal office hours, so I think we made a very valiant effort to get everybody a pass that needed one. Overall, the feedback's been pretty positive. We really haven't had too much negative feedback. Got a lot of comments that people appreciated us being out at the back-to-school events and helping facilitate that pass process. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive, the response we had. I know there were some concerns about availability to parents. If we break down the passes issued by location, 21% were issued out of our main office, 4% were off the downtown transit center, and 75% were at off-site events. So it's been overwhelming. I think since the school started, there's only been 58 passes issued after the start of school. So my compliments to the staff, particularly those in the office, above and beyond the call of duty, made themselves available to the public, and it's a huge rollout success. So we're very proud of the way that this is rolled out, and it's been very accessible. And I think overall the rollout, knock on wood, it's early, but it's been very successful so far.
All right, so that's on the student pass program. Just two other updates. South Main Street, the road diet or reconfiguration is just about complete. So South Main Street from South Park to Waukah is now one lane in each direction with a shared left turn lane with the addition of bike lanes. So we'll work on updating the bike and pedestrian map so that shows on there. We just have to complete some signage yet, but the striping I checked today and it looks like it's pretty much done. So I know that'll make a lot of residents happy in that area south of the city. And then the 400 West parking lot, as Jim knows, that has started, so they're starting work on the dumpster closure. Got to do some base repair, and then they're going to be doing a resurfacing project there over the next month or so. So those are the main projects that are currently ongoing.
Okay. Is there any future agenda items which anybody wants to put forth?
The only thing I will mention, since we had public comment on it, we do have the Congress in Wisconsin, that request for stop sign that came previously. I need to get some traffic counts now that the road's reopened, so that'll, if I get the traffic counts, it'll be on the next agenda, so we're planning on getting that. And then I'll report back on some of the other questions that were asked. I don't have all the answers to that, but I do know as far as the no parking that there was not any changes proposed. Obviously, this board would know about it if there were, because it would have to come here and then go to council in order to change any ordinance. So ordinances are all currently the same as they were before. But I will research some of the comments that we heard and report back on some of that. And then I'm sure the sergeant's here, and I'm sure he heard the speeding complaints, and will deal with that appropriately.
Okay.
Ask a question related to.
Sure.
statements? Just on the number of student passes given out, I know in the past you've tracked number of rides given to students. Do you have a sense on, compared to the 686 student passes being issued, how that compares to the number of students who've ridden in the past? Is that a good percentage of total students that have ridden in the past? And where are we at?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard. We weren't keeping track of, this is a much more refined process, the way we're handing out the passes now. So I think the amount of student passes was previously inflated. Overall, I think we're pushing 700 students. I think our last number was like 942 or somewhere in that range. So about 7/9. But I think a lot of that was actually duplicate. We have seen, to be upfront and honest, we have seen a slight reduction in the number of people utilizing the student passes. However, I don't think that's reflective of the amount of students that are riding. We have a small percentage of students that are choosing to pay and not take advantage. You can fill in your own reasons why they might do that, but it's available. So the ridership is slightly down, but I'm not sure that ridership is that much different. I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah.
Okay, any additional questions relating to the staff statements? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, roll call?
Staple,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Lynch,
Aye.
Martin,
Aye.
Merritt.
Aye. Okay, thank you.